Behind every success story is typically a mentor who made a difference. These mentors, and I mean the good ones, provide wisdom, tough love, and life-changing advice that shapes extraordinary journeys. Let's have ourselves a pocket-sized pep talk because whether it's a teacher, coach, boss, or unexpected guide, the right mentor can change everything. Want to know why I say that? Because today my mentor has joined me on the podcast. Stay put because you're going to learn a little bit about mentoring, a little bit about corporate training, and a little bit about selling. And I promise you, you're in for a treat.
A Pocket Sized Pep Talk, the podcast that can help energize your business and your life with a quick, inspiring message. Now, here's your host, Rob Jollis.
Today's guest, Larry DeMoncas, a master sales trainer at Xerox, joined the company in 1967 and went on to develop innovative teaching systems for instructors. He's renowned for creating the UPPOPPR method, a 7-step process designed to enhance presentations' effectiveness and reduce audience confusion. DeMoncas methodologies have significantly influenced sales training practices, emphasizing clarity and audience engagement. I know this to be true because other than my dad, this is the man who had the most impact on my life as a professional speaker and as a human being. Happy to have you with us and welcome to the show, Larry.
Top of the day to you.
Pleasure to have you, sir. And this is going to be interesting because I didn't tell Larry he was going on a podcast. He just found out about 60 seconds ago and in typical Larry DeMoncas fashion said, bring it on. I'm ready for you. So let's start with the UPPOPPR, Larry. I think it remains one of the most unique processes I've ever seen. And I use it to this day and I teach it to this day. What made you go deeper than the old tell them what you're going to tell them story?
Well, I guess the way first off, that was really a good opening. Man, I want to meet that guy. He's really awesome.
It's you. Yeah.
But I tell you what, I got in there, and when you first get in and you're not sure what's happening, then what happened was I start trying to figure out, well, what the hell am I going to do? How am I going to get into this and make it work? And then most of the times, what I found is most people would start off and say, why do I need this? And, why do I pay attention in any of this? And basically, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
And that's basically where it started it off. Yeah. And where people just said, what are we going to cover? Why is this important? How's it going to do? How do you know whether I got it or not? And did I really get what I was supposed to get? And if I did, great. But no, how do I prove it to you too?
Yeah.
So I don't know. We came up with this thing, and I met these guys. There were a couple of them at one point in time. It was Jay Alden and another guy was with him. And his name will come to me, but I forgot. But anyway, PhD guys, and they were doing some research and doing self-paced learning. And in there, they used to write the stuff down that would say, okay, here's what you need and why it's important. Think about this, think about that. And they came up with it. And I said, wow, that's really cool. But how do I use some of this, or how do I get some of it? And then I start looking at what I was doing at Xerox at the time. And I said, this isn't working the way it should. And I said, from what I've gotten before, I got to get into this and find out. I got to make it work. So I ended up creating this thing called UPPOPPR. And what it basically stands for is it gets tiring when you talk about it. But anyway, when you get into it, it's utility, product, process, proof of ability. What else is left?
Hang on, I'm going to help you out here. Utility. Larry taught me this, and he was a taskmaster. We had to do our UPPOPPR. So utility, product, process, objective. That's the one you were looking for. All right. Process justification, proof of ability, and review. See, you taught me well, Larry.
My God, you got it. You got it, and you didn't miss a step on it. Cool. But you know what? Most people would say, God, that's too much to give them. Why don't I just jump in on it?
Right.
Well, I said, well, let's experience it. I'll just jump in and start talking. And I'm gonna not use any of it. And
Right.
so I start talking about it, and they say, where the hell are we going? What wait, what's going on?
Right.
What is he talking about? Why
Right.
do I so all of a sudden I said, well, that's why you got it. That's why you got it. You have to have it when you get in a car. Now, think about this. You get in your car, and all of a sudden you're going down the road. Do you have a map? Did you have a map? Now, do you have a GPS? Hell
Right.
yes, you do.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know where you're going. You can't find a map in your car except on your phone. So what happened is, once you had a map, you could pretty much see where it was going. And if you weren't getting there, you knew I made a mistake somewhere. So what happened is when you're going through the process, here's what we're going to cover, here's how we're going to cover it, here's where we're going with it, and when we're there, here's what you need to be able to do to make sure you got it.
Yeah.
Objective pops in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the behavior thing that said, here's what you have to do under these conditions, and this is how well. Now, if you can't do that, then you don't get it.
Yeah.
So we would have to take and everyone that we put a presentation together for, and we would critique it, and we'd go through and say, I need those 7 steps.
Right.
I have to have them. Without them, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Hey, Larry, let me tell you, because you handed it off. And then I don't know if you remember, made me the train the trainer instructor.
Yes.
So I was teaching those UPPOPPers, right?
Yes.
And I remember I used to play a game. 2 things that you might not know that I did. First of all, I used to tell them, same thing. Everybody go, this is so long. It's so intensive. And I'd say, okay, I'm going to play a game. It's called Talk Me Out of It. Okay. And the game goes like this, right? Maybe we shouldn't tell anybody what's in it for them. Let's just go in. They go, well, no, we have to do that. I go, all right. Well, then we don't really need a big picture. We'll dive in and they'll figure out where we're going eventually. No, we need a big picture. Well, then we probably should tell them what we're going to talk about. Yes. Well, should we tell them how? I mean, maybe we have a handout. They don't know it. Maybe they're going to be in a small group exercise. They don't know it. What if we told them beforehand? Do you think that might, reduce the anxiety in the room? Yes. All right. Well, now we're up to maybe we should tell them what we expect out of them when we're done. Well, no, we have to do that. Sorry, folks. I only got 2 of them left now. How about we don't tell them about our, who are we? Why should they know what we're doing here and where the information's coming from? I guess they'll figure that out. No, may have some analytical audit students. I said, well, then I'm sorry. We're down to proof of ability. Maybe we shouldn't tell them, give them a proof source. Maybe this has worked before. You can't talk me out of a step. And then, Larry, I do one other thing. I used to do, I wish you could see these. I used to do what I called the UPPOPPR challenge. I'd say, okay, so now you can't talk me out of it. The only other argument is, how are we going to do all this? It's going to take too long. So I would say, I'm going to walk out of the room. Give me any topic. And during the years, I've had air. I've had some real weird topics, okay? I said, give me any topic. Give me 30 seconds when I walk in once you give it to me. And I'll run the UPPOPPR and show it on screen. I would click it as it went. I'll show it on screen. I'll do it in 3.5 minutes or less. So now you can't tell me it takes too long to prep, and you can't tell me it takes too long to deliver. And they would give me, the weirdest topics. And bing, bang, boom, bang, bang, down we go. And that was the end of it. That's how I would sell the UPPOPPR, because we know it works.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. By the way, I'm going to steal that next time I use it. That was really good. That was really good.
Yeah, talk me out of it. Which part should we not use? And I'll tell you, Larry, you did one thing in there that I think gets by people, which is we talk about this utility, which is what's in it for me. And most people go, yeah. But you broke it down into 3 areas. See, yes. If I said, just tell me what's in it for me, well, no. Larry, and tell me if I got this right, basically said, we have an audience that might have 100 people. Some of them want to know how it's going to help them personally, right? Mm-hmm. Some of might be end users. Is this going to let me get out of here at 5 o'clock, and get home? Yeah. Some of them want to know maybe how it's going to help them on the job, right? Maybe this will make your job a little bit easier, a little quicker. You'll be able to do other things. Oh, and then maybe we got a few people who are paying our check in the back corner there who want to know, how's this going to help the corporation? Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
But they don't have signs. So Larry DeMoncas taught me, Rob, hit all three. Okay. And everybody's going to be taken care of. Even that part has saved my life more often than I can count. Really important.
I got to tell you, the stuff works. And even to the point I mentioned earlier that before we put the camera on, that I moved into a CCRC. Well, I guess once a trainer, always a trainer. Once a, I don't know. Once a salesperson. What can I say? So anyway, we get in here, and this place has got, I don't know, 500 people in it, something like that. But what happens is they've got a bunch of salespeople that don't know how the hell to sell. And they're going it the wrong way. And these people come in, and some people shouldn't even be here, even though it's a whatever. But anyway, what happens is they don't really know why they should be here, or they'll say, I'm not ready for it. So you have to build the impetus to, hey, wait a minute, I need this now. Right. I have to do it now. I've got to get one. And you have to build that into UPPOPPR. Yeah. What's the importance of it, and how quick do I need to be able to do this? Yeah. And and the other part of that was really interesting is most people, once they got the UPPOPPR in and they got to the objective, what do I have to do, under what conditions, how well, that kind of thing, they would sit there and say, I don't need that. Okay, I got it. Let's move on. No. You came to me, and you're going to meet my standards that we're going to do. So that's how it turns. Yeah. And it really worked out well.
Yeah. I think also you just highlighted probably the toughest part to teach on that UPPOPPR was where you were just at, that objective. Because I consider it, and I tell people, listen, I'm not allowed to have favorites. But the utility is probably the most important part, because if I don't have a reason to be here, I don't really care where we're going or how we're going to get there. But the second most important piece is, what do you expect out of me? And I'm speaking as a student right now. Right. And what you just went over was we didn't just say, so answer it. We said, oh, no. It'll be task driven. We're going to be able to measure it. You're going to know under what rules or conditions. But it sounds very methodical. What we were doing was just eliminating all those unknowns, because, I've always felt that's one of the toughest things for a trainer or a professional speaker or an amateur is, what if the audience turns against me? And that UPPOPPR to me was our get out of jail free, because they will turn on you if they don't think they need to be there, or they don't know why you're teaching it, or they don't know what you expect out of them. Tick, tick, tick. Here comes the UPPOPPR. When you address that, you're addressing adult learning principles. When you address adult learning, you're calming everybody down. Now they can hear our message.
Absolutely. God, where were you when I was teaching this thing, and you could have been teaching it with me? Damn.
I got to tell you, it's Larry DeMoncas taught me this. Remember, I left Xerox over 32 years ago, so I probably learned this almost 40 years ago. And notice, I'm not pulling it from left field. I use it to this day. I write about it. It's how we make great trainers great. Let's stay with that for a second. Let's move off the UPPOPPR. Talk to me about, I'm just curious, how would you define, a good trainer from a great trainer? What does the great trainer have that the good one doesn't have, other than the UPPOPPR?
Well, I was going to say UPPOPPR. Yeah. But let's see, what does a great trainer have? A great trainer, in my mind, is, and I'm going to talk about you, because I think you are. And I don't think I know you are, because I watched your review. Anyway, I think that once it gets into your system, and then when you got to be there because you want to be there. You got to be able there to talk about why it's important to you and to me and to the company. It's not only I just finished giving the presentation. Whoop-de-doo. No, it's got to mean something. And when you talk about, what does it mean to me? Uh, what's the most important thing is I'd go into a classroom and I'd watch an instructor and they'd go in and they use some of the words, but they never had the attitude and the feelings about the importance and about the person that they're talking to. And to me, that was one of the biggest things, was to get it so that you believe it. Now, somebody could say, "Oh, yeah, DeMontis, he didn't know none of that shit." So, it's okay. But this guy Jollis, man, is he good? He's really in it and he's doing the job and he believes it. So maybe there's something to it.
Yeah.
And then once they try it and they see, and then all of a sudden they become a believer. But there are some that don't. And you know what? They're not doing it anymore. And they're not training anymore because the worst thing that can happen is you're giving the presentation and all of a sudden got an audience and all of a sudden you start watching them. They're leaving. They're walking out. You can't have an audience and have the instructor doing what he thinks is the best, but he's just going through the motions and doesn't believe it, doesn't have the attitude, didn't feel the emotions, doesn't have no. He walks out the door and they get pissed. Well, wait a minute. It's your fault, buddy. It's your fault. Yeah. And, you got it. That's what you got to deal with.
Yeah.
And so I guess I would say you got to really believe what you're doing. If you're not believing it, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because you'll mess them up and you'll get somebody that should know it, didn't know it because you didn't do your job.
Right. And you notice that Larry didn't say you got to have the smartest guy in the room there. You got to have a guy that believes in what he's talking or she's talking about. And I've always said the easiest way to be believed is to tell the truth.
Absolutely.
You can't pretend that this is going to work. I don't pretend that this UPPOPPR might help you. I know it helps. I believe it to my core. And when I get up there, you can follow me or not follow me, but it won't be because the words and the tune didn't line up for me.
That's true.
I don't know if you know this, but when I left Xerox, I created these little silver lightning bolts. And whenever I'm on stage or training a company or anything, I'm speaking professionally, I put on that lightning bolt. And that lightning bolt stands for energy and enthusiasm. I call them the great equalizers because, and truly,
I'm going to steal that, buddy.
Right?
I'm going to steal that.
Steal it. I'm going to mail one down there to you. You should have one right now. You'll get one. But I save them because, not everybody gets a lightning bolt. But it's funny, been doing this all these years. I know you do it as well. Don't think that a Larry DeMontis and a Rob Jollis don't look at that lightning bolt every time before they step on the stage. Larry doesn't have a physical lightning bolt, but believe me, he's looking in the mirror and saying, this doesn't matter the other umpteen years I got behind me. Today's what matters. That audience is what matters. And I'm going to give them everything I got. It may not be as good as yesterday, but it won't be because I wasn't trying. I'm going as hard as I can. And that's the beauty of corporate training to me.
Oh, you hit it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hey, Larry, let's shift for a second. As I remember, I said, we're going to touch on a couple things. I don't know if you know this, but you delivered a line one time that I wrote down and I use to this day. And it always makes people smile. And you'll be happy to know I always go, Larry DeMontis taught me that line. Larry taught, when we at Xerox, we learned different versions, be it spin training, buyer focus training, L87 training. We had all sorts of training. But believe me, all roads led back to you better create some urgency. You better get inside that problem and you better open it up, almost like a wound. And I remember Larry DeMontis telling me, it's like a wound. You got to stay on that wound, Jollis. Stay on that wound. And the immortal DeMontis line is this: Jollis, if they cry, they'll buy. You remember that one?
Hell yes. That's a favorite. I love it. Oh,
I can't name the financial institution, but it's a big one. I had taught them that. This is about 6 years ago. This is pre-pandemic, but somehow one of the reps, I taught hundreds and hundreds of reps there. Somehow one of the reps told one of the clients, and it got back, and the company came to me and said, "Hey, we can't use that line in training anymore." And I said, "All right, but I'll use it for the rest of my life because." And you correct me if I'm wrong. What it's reminding people is, listen, if they can't see a little bit past their own nostrils, their own nose,
yep.
down the line a little bit. If you aren't able to get them to see the potential for this problem, doesn't take a genius to solve it once a client's had their head handed to them. The ability to sell is can you get them there without them actually being punched in the face? And that's
Yep.
where if they cry, if they feel that and see it, they'll buy. That's
Yep.
why I use it.
Now, there's something else that just
Mhm.
gets me on this. And there's, I guess, not only if you make them cry, you can make them buy. There was a guy that you remember, Neil Rackham.
Of
Uh,
course.
and
Author of
one of the
Spin.
things that when we moved into this place where we're living now, which is the Cardinal, anyway, but where we're here, uh, people that come in and they say, okay, now how do you like it here? What's it like? And how do you like it? And so they're asking for information. And I said, why'd you come here? Why are you here? What do you think you're going to get out of it? I always do it that way. And then I said, what are you looking for? What are you trying to find? What are you looking for? And I tell you what, they say, well, I'm not really ready yet. And I said, suppose you're ready. What are you going to find? What do you want? And they go and they say, well, I want a nice place. And I said, what about all these buildings down here that are similar, like other apartments? What's important to you? And then they go, well, I need to get food. I need a nice place. It's got to be good. And then I go, you're missing something. You're missing something big. I said, what's the foundation for it? And I said, when you look at the foundation, what happens is this building that I'm in right now has concrete and iron. It doesn't have a lot of wood. And I said, if you're in an 18-story building and it's wood, guess what happens? If anything wrong goes, could be a thunderstorm hitting something. It's going to take and it's going to fry that building and you in it. So when you're looking at solutions, you might want to consider alternatives to what is available, or at least have a list of what you have to have in order to go. And if by God, if they don't have that list, I'm going to make sure I create it with them through the conversation.
People don't realize I met Larry at Xerox Document University. It used to have a longer name. We'll leave that out for now. But we were sleeping close to 1,100 people, or I think we slept like about 1,000 people in that
Easy,
facility.
easy.
Easy. And we had a bar, and we had a little bit of everything. But we had a bar, almost a nightclub. And I was early into that building. I met Larry DeMarcus. He said, "We're going to do this. We're going to do this." And one more thing, folks, I catch you in that bar. It's your job. And I remember I was probably there 7, 8 years, and I was looking for something. Somebody said, I said, "What's this?" He said, "Well, you're in the bar." I said, "Been here 8 years. I've never seen it." I got the message, but I want people to understand why that was so important when you're a corporate trainer and you're training people whose careers depend on our feedback often.
Mhm.
Why is it that you were, and I'm agreeing with you, I just want you to explain, why is it that you had this zero tolerance for us going to have some drinks with students?
Well, let's see. I'd go to any place in the campus to sit and BS with the students. And, when I was teaching with
Right.
this, one of the things that took place a lot was that we would get together, and at that time there was a guy on that I used to show these videos of Leo Buscaglia, and he was my hero, is my hero. But anyway, he would be doing showing. I would be showing what these this Leo's information, unbelievable. Anyway, uh, and we would be watching this in the where the resident rooms would be, and watching it on the TVs. And you could have your couple of drinks there or whatever, your own. But when you went into the other place, it was you would go and mix, and you would be a person that was showing yourself in a not so good of an area because you're sitting there getting shit faced, and you could get as much as you wanted to drink, and nobody was watching over you. And when you do that, and we just lose whatever you tell them in the classroom afterwards, they saw you before, and then they see you acting that way.
Right.
It's unacceptable.
Right. Yep. I'll take you a step further too. First of all, I completely agree. My dad was a Marine. I don't think they hung out with the drill instructors. Not that the drill instructors didn't have a beer or two, but not with the
Not with
people
them.
that they're working with. There is
True.
that line. And for me, once I got the memo from you, and like that's one of the many things I loved about working with you is I couldn't stand managers where I really never knew where I stood. With Larry DeMoncus, you always knew where you stood. The rules were real simple. Stay on this side of the line, we get along great. Cross that side of the line, we're going to have a conversation. But
Amen.
Larry, what I liked about what you taught me, because that was not instinctive for a 30-year-old guy at the time, was listen, these students, you can get into some very unusual situations when you start having drinks with students. Uh, and let's just maintain that professional line. And to
Yep.
this day, and I'm on the road a lot, and I've got clients that want me going out to dinner with with the teams that I'm training, and I do go out to dinner with them. I can't turn my customer down, but I don't have to have a drink with that customer. And believe me, on weekends, Larry and I have had a few drinks. I'll have drinks, but it's one of those things, sort of like a hotel bar. There's just not a whole lot of good that can come out of those places.
True.
Best that we have zero tolerance on that. And I know that sounds old school to some people, but Larry, I'm so glad you taught that to me because it was not, I would have figured it out the hard way. And I'd rather not.
YBYJ.
Yeah.
YBYJ. You bet your job.
Yep. That's
And
exactly right.
That
That was your term for it.
YBYJ. You got it.
Let's start wrapping up.
Okay.
Let me see. I have 25 questions for you, but how about we finish with? Well, let's finish with just letting people know about the buyer focused selling program because I thought that was a project that you and I worked on together, and that's where
Yes.
I really got to know you, and I think you got to know me.
Yes.
I tell people a little bit about that program because I thought it was so innovative at the time.
Why, wait, let me ask you, why did you think so?
I'll tell you why. Okay. Thank you. I get to answer my question. Okay. Here's what I thought. Tell me if I got it right. At the time, we were very involved with spin and we liked Neil Rackham and we liked spin selling, but we couldn't train it to customers. And we were working with Xerox dealerships and they weren't really, they were customers. They were not Xerox employees, although they were in a sense deputized to be able to sell Xerox equipment. But what I loved about the buyer focus program was the loyalty that it created. That not only did we take people that were not Xerox employees and create our own version of spin, in a sense, but we added a buying cycle to it. I always thought we enhanced it, quite frankly.
Absolutely.
But we were able to thread the needle and work with people who were still, in a sense, our clients, and not only teach them how to survive, but teach them what being a Zeroid, if you will, was all about.
Yep.
I just thought it was a beautiful program with a lot of success. I remember those dealerships really kicking those numbers up and just being so proud of what we put together. But that was your baby.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and still is. And it's you can use it anywhere you go.
Yeah.
It's exciting. I think it is, but I'm prejudiced over it.
Yeah, me too.
And I learned a lot about it in working with creating it and not using a lot of stuff that Neil Rackham had. Although I love the guy, he was awesome, but it really made sense. And the way that we would teach it and how we did with that really made a big impression on the people. And it not only impression, they looked at the bottom line. And what people would do is they would say, okay, I've got this, here's what my sales are. Here's what we're doing right now. Here's our productivity. And what are you going to do? And I said, make it go up. And they say, what do you mean? I said, where you are right now, by you taking this program and working it, I guarantee you, you're going to go up, or else you don't pay a damn penny. And they say, you can't do that. I said, the hell I can't. I'll write it down and it'll be on me. And I will guarantee you that you will move and do much better. In fact, I'll put a number to it just for the hell of it. I'll bet you if you're doing, say, 60%, I'll knock it up to 75 and just shy of 80. What do you think? Will you do it? And they said, sure. How much can I win from you? And I said, oh, how much you want to put on the table? And so they'd say, well, how about 10% of what we make off of this increase, we give to you. What do you think? I said, really? 10%? Wow, that could be a lot. In fact, because I know what's going to happen, you don't. So, when you see the results, you're going to get excited about it. And sure enough, I put it out to them, and they would look at the process. And we didn't talk totally about Xerox equipment. We talked about the customers that they were going to be dealing with. And therefore, when they bought and they closed, and they'd say, wow, this is really good. It works.
Yeah.
And what can I say? I was excited as hell about it.
Yep.
And it worked. And
yes.
I think that the best part of it was when the customers, the different agencies across the country, they would come in and the head honchos would come in and say, I got to meet this guy. He's really doing something that we got to continue doing. And I don't know if you remember Doug Heineman, he was involved in it. And it's just great stuff that happened. So that, to me, was one of the best things going. And what was really the best out of all of it was you guys that took the class, that took that and went out and went across the country with it.
Yeah.
Because then you guys really made it work. And it was fantastic.
Well, that's, again, because we believed. And we saw those numbers. Although it's interesting, years later, I have a conversation with my mentor, Larry DeMarcus, and it's the first time I've ever heard that he was making side bets behind us. Glad we didn't know that you were betting on us. Although I'm the kind of guy where I probably, you told me I would have kicked it up another gear because I don't like losing bets either. But that's the first I ever heard of the DeMarcus bet. Very interesting. Larry, I could ask you more and more questions, and we could go in so many different levels.
We should do this. We should do this again because I'm enjoying the hell out of it.
Good. Well, then you just heard it, folks. I've got 425 episodes. I've had a grand total of 3 guests on more than once, and now we're going to make it 4. We'll let this one sit a while, but we're going to revisit with Larry DeMarcus because I got to hear more bets that he might have been making and other things. Larry. Great training doesn't just teach skills, in my opinion. It builds confidence, it opens doors, it creates lifelong impact.
Absolutely.
You're the one who taught me that. And what we learned today is that when you get the right mentor, it can make all the difference. So who's mentoring you, ladies and gentlemen? And who are you mentoring in return? Because I want you to choose wisely, because there's no telling where those lessons and relationships will take you. You just heard where that relationship took me. Larry, so grateful to be able to talk to you today. Can't wait to do it again. You were just terrific. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Rob, thank you so much for having me. And you're my hero.
Well, you might as well. Two heroes.
Yes, two heroes. Peace and love to you. And,
hey, Larry, how do people get a hold of you if they want to reach out to you?
Contact you.
Okay. You contact me, I'll contact Larry. Folks.
You got it. Then we'll double team them, and they'll
I'll vet them out for you. There's no telling what kind of knuckleheads might get to, I'll vet them for you. Don't worry, Larry. All right. Anyway, listen, we'll do it again as well as we can next time, everybody.
One quick thing.
Oh my. Larry is interrupting my exit. Go ahead. Only you can do this.
One of the things that really was exciting is to teach questioning techniques, which most of the people have no clue what they're asking and how they're asking and what to expect from it. Anyway, I'll stop with that.
Wait, you giving a teaser for the next show? Is that what you just did?
I don't know. Why not? What the hell?
That's what you did. All right. You done?
Peace and love.
All right. We'll do it again as well as we can next time, everybody. Until then, stay safe. All right. Hang tight. Hold.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please rate and recommend it on iTunes, Outcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more information on this show and Rob at jollis.com.